Dwayne, we're gonna put in with some ling-lings. I want some ling-lings, don't you? Dwayne, you want some ling-lings back here?
I'm with BlockTech. I'd like to thank you all for coming here today. So this is our EOS collaboration event.
With Dr. Spock.
With Dr. Spock. He's our good luck charm. So if you've got any questions on why he's here because he's extremely lucky. We're going to go through, we have some great speakers for you today that probably going to go ahead and introduce. See the camera going around, so we're going to be recording the event. I'll be walking around taking pictures so you can see them online later. And if you've got any questions, feel free to engage us later on today. So here is Pradi.
Thanks, Brandon. So we've had a great relationship, great partnership with BlockTech over the last year. And in a 1 year in blockchain time is equivalent to like 30. So I feel like he's been, lifelong friend at this point. So who here has been to an EOS Miami event before? Or who here is your first time? Yeah, that's a better question. I mean, some of you are a soft first time. You met me before, but you didn't know like what we were there for. So EOS Miami is the South Florida EOS chapter, so to speak. So we're EOS Miami, we're also Telos Miami. So Telos is a sister chain of EOS. So EOS is the #1 blockchain by daily activity, and Telos is #4, and we represent both organizations here in South Florida. So what our mission is to promote, basically distributed application developers and blockchain entrepreneurs. So we're very, very technical and entrepreneurship focused. Like we'll never talk about whether you should buy something or speculate in cryptocurrency. That's not our job. I probably won't talk to you about it. I'll change the subject, but we're totally focused on just helping you build apps, build businesses, and that's all we do. And we're doing a good job, I think. Our history so far is we've been doing a lot of hackathons and shows and everything. And I'm not sure how this one's going to be, but we either come in first place or last place in whatever we do, right? So there's no in between. We go all out, if it's not, so we don't try to be all things to all people, right? You're either gonna love us or that's fine. We don't want a huge following. We actually want people who really want to build something in blockchain space, and that's what we're about. So we won we entered 2 teams in the Comcast NBC Universal Telemundo Hackathon, and both our teams won first place in their respective categories. Yes. In fact, the second team, headed by Slavo, he was a speaker here with BlockTech last time. His team actually he won the Google Cloud Award, and they got in-person interviews in Silicon Valley, so they got flown out to Silicon Valley. So that's the type of thing, through the EOS Miami, we call it a very, I want to say family, because everyone uses that, but a very tight-knit organization. We like to hang out together, we learn things together, and you have someone to bounce ideas off of too, you have someone to ask questions of. So we're pretty friendly, and we all help each other. And basically it's pretty much a community-run organization. So every event, we have Chad here, we have Open Forum. He's going to show his EOS-based idea as well. So we promote each other. Oh, we actually have our keynote. I was going to do your talk for you. Have a seat. So So basically what EOS is, we're the #1 blockchain in global activity, and Telos is #4. And Telos only launched a month and a half ago. Telos Miami is actually the #3 block producer on the Telos chain. What that means is there's 21 entities that run the network. There's no concept of mining or anything like that. Basically, you get voted. So we're #3, so the global community has voted Miami as #3 to produce blocks and run the network. And within a month and a half, we already have 3 times the daily volume of Ethereum and twice the daily volume of Bitcoin. So we're really doing well. And as our personal giving back to the community, we donate 10% of our daily revenues to social impact projects. So we're going to have a pitch night for that as well if you have a social impact idea. Right now, like our daily revenues accumulate in a separate account, so we can distribute it once it reaches a certain amount to actually make an impact on the impactees. So just to, we'll do some quick intros. We'll go around the room. So literally just say your name and maybe 1 sentence what you do. There's a lot of people in the room. We don't want to like take the whole time. So everyone except the speakers, because you guys are going to have more time.
Hi everybody, or as you say here, how are y'all doing? I'm Dimitri, I'm from New York, and I'm here because I'm running a volunteer organization, and we're using blockchain as a backbone to record volunteer activities, and that's the nature of my interest.
Hi everybody, my name is Wes Cowan. I own an agency called iAnalyst.com, and also we have a blockchain division, iAnalyst.io.
Hi, how are you? My name is Eliezer Diaz. I'm holding and studying this technology something years ago. That's it.
I'm Mike Torres, and I'm an algorithmic trader. I've been trading foreign currencies for 10 years, and now I'm trading cryptocurrencies. So I would like to collaborate with anybody else who has an interest in that. Please come and see me. Again, Mike Torres. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Alexander Hernandez. I'm trading futures and I'm investing in cryptocurrency too, okay?
Hi, this is Suresh Kumar. I'm just new to this. I just wanted to see what's going on here.
Welcome. I'm a speaker, so.
My name is Stephen Barkley. I have interest in AR and IoT, so I'm always listening.
Hi, I'm Scarlett Rana, and I'm here because I'm interested in the technology of blockchain for social good.
Hello, my name is Robin. I'm a founder of BlockTech. I own a construction company, and I study medicine.
My name is Jonathan Stein. I'm an artist and a filmmaker, and I run a pediatric cancer nonprofit here in South Florida.
Hi, my name is Rachel Justi. I'm a journalist and curious.
My name is Igor Kusevich. I'm a specialist in IT and doing blockchain for about a couple of years. My name is Pedro Risi. I run the technology for a global company and a company.
My name is Susan Inde. I work in IT, and I'm looking how blockchain can actually be integrated into the healthcare field.
Thank you. Emmanuel Vargas, I'm in financial services. I'm just here to kind of learn more about blockchain and see what it's about.
Laura Mayo Vargas. I'm here, I'm studying machine learning and blockchain, and I'm interested in smart contracts, playing with some concepts to build an app.
Howdy, Cordova. I have a CMBA, and I'm really good at this stuff. Just keep my brain.
I'm Vincent. We have level 1 live action, sports. It's mediatainment and entertainment mixed all under one roof.
Hi, my name is Janet Pellegrini, and I'm co-founder with them.
Hi, my name is Angel, software developer.
My name is Gross. I'm part of a tech startup. We're trying to develop an aluminum-backed digital coin.
All right, so thank you everyone for going through that. It's nice to know where you're all at in this field and what you're trying to get out of it. And it's going to be helpful when you're networking later. You're not going up to someone randomly. You know their name because the tag's on, but you're not really sure what field they're in. So definitely interested in speaking about healthcare. Definitely interested in seeing how smart contracts can impact mostly enterprise business. That's my space. I'm in financial software consulting. I also worked for ADP, the payroll company, as a product owner for a couple of years. And been in blockchain for a couple of years as well. It's something that's very interesting to me. So I'll go ahead and bring this back over to Bobby. Yeah.
So you guys actually might have to come up here or have a little bit issue. There's always something, right, with the projector. So our first speaker is someone, an amazing individual. He's probably the top augmented reality developer in the state of Florida right now, and I'm not joking. I even include the Magically people too. Like this guy's head and tails above. So what we're gonna do today, he's gonna present some of his recent work. He put Dwayne Wade's sneakers on in augmented reality with complete 3D scanning and everything. He's gonna show you the demo and also how it's done. Then I'll go into the next aspect of how we put his sneakers on blockchain using some AI algorithms and what that means for you guys as entrepreneurs. So let me introduce Juan.
Hey, hi everyone. I've been doing augmented reality for a couple of years, and I started with VR back in DK1, DK2, and Oculus. And so starting in VR, but obviously there's been the question of what's going to impact first. Is it going to be VR or is it going to be AR? And I think I thought AR was going to take a little longer because it seemed like it would be a more difficult puzzle to crack, basically. But it turns out that it isn't because we all carry phones. And not everybody has a computer that can run a VR headset. Not everybody can buy the VR headset, buy the computer, whereas we can all have a phone in our pocket. So in that case, then AR is going to be quicker than VR. And also AR is going to have a lot more impact in terms of commerce. So when you combine those two things, which is actually coming quicker, and then it's also going to probably be more profitable quicker, then I think the AR revolution is pretty much here. I got involved in a few big projects recently. So we started a mural campaign, and what we're doing is we're doing these big murals throughout the city that are going to teach people about climate change and sea level rise. And what we're doing is we're creating these augmented reality murals that you can bring up your phone, and then the mural comes to life and it teaches you about climate change and sea level rise. And the first one that we did was in Miami Avenue in front of the Miami Cemetery. And I guess I can't really demo it here.
We're gonna bring another portable projector. So
but I can show you guys later. We can actually go on Google Maps and bring up the street view of the mural, and then with the app, you can actually look at the Google Map image, and it actually works as if you were in front of the mural, which is pretty cool. So that was the first mural, and then the one we're completing now is in Wynwood, and that one is also about teaching people about all these issues, but it's a little bit more about extinctions and the fact that climate change is going to bring about a big extinction, on a scale that we haven't seen before and in a much shorter time. So basically, we're trying to use art to teach these complex issues. And so that was one of the things that I've recently got involved in terms of using augmented reality for sort of social awareness and education. And then the other thing that we recently did is we started a company called Augmented Gift Shop. So the idea is to use augmented reality as to augment all kinds of items that people buy every day. And one of the things that we're doing is we're augmenting art. So here I have a few.
One of the guys come up so you can see.
One of the first projects that we did was with the Heat, Dwayne Wade, and some of the basketball players. And this is a collaboration that we did with 305 Films. And they had these really great slow motion shots of the players. I'll show them to you in a minute. So this is one with Dwayne Wade in the rain. here's another one, him just playing basketball with fire in the background. And these are all shot in slow motion. And then Haslam in the rain also, and then also with fire. So the idea is that these are stills from the video, and you can put them up in your wall, and they basically become augmented reality artwork. So it's like having a picture frame in your home, but then you can have an app and then augment it. So obviously you have to use your phone to do this, but you can imagine 3 years from now when we're not using phones anymore, but we're using glasses, then you just have this stuff in your house, and then people can just walk in and immediately interact with it. But for now, we're using phones. And then the other thing that we did for the heat was we took the, as Praveen was saying, we took the shoe, and in this case, this is the actual logo of the shoe. And then what we did is we put it on a platform, and then when you bring the app onto it, then it brings the shoe out. So let me see if I can get it here going.
Want me to hold the paper?
What's that?
Hold the paper for you?
Well, yes and no, because let me see, I have to get it on frame, and let's see, hold on one sec. I know Praveen's going to try to put a video where you can actually see all these demos. Okay.
Sorry for the technical difficulties.
Okay, here, can you hold this for a second? Yeah. So let me just demo present. So here's this particular thing. Oh, cool. I don't know if you guys can really see it. So yeah, it's the fire engine on it, so you can just kind of reset it.
Yeah, you definitely need the glasses, I see your point.
Yeah, so you can show this to people, with your phone, and it's cool. But ultimately, you want to have glasses to be able to.
But are you saying that you have to have your own phone? If I pull out my phone, it's not going to be the same.
Well, we're starting something called Augmented Gift Shop, and the idea is you'll be able to purchase the item, and then you just download the app, and then you have access to the content from the app.
And there is no QR code on the edge to download the app. Like if I come on with my phone, like what am I doing?
Well, you would have to download the app. Well, but yeah,
gotcha. Okay.
You would have access to the app, and
question: are you by any chance working with like Apple or Android to get that integrated into the camera?
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing is that right now you have to find a way to the marker to somehow route to where your content is, because obviously Apple has to have a connection to that content somehow. Right now, the way it's done is.
All right.
Oh,
We got.
Well, here's some of the content. So in this video, I'm trying to get the marker to work, and we put that same marker on a pillar, and then basically that's how you see it. See, and you can kind of walk around it. You can walk around it, and it just feels like it's floating in space. See, so. It's pretty cool.
So how did you actually make the rendering of the sneaker?
The sneaker was 3D scanned with one of those 3D scanners that you can get, Connect or whatever, and then you kind of 3D scan it, and that's it, really, and you get an OBJ.
So it's a leading question because one of the leading companies that makes those scanners is called Occipital, and Occipital just bought a company out of Gainesville last year. It was one of the biggest companies. Biggest startup acquisitions for a UF-based company. I went to UF as well. So the lead investor and the board observer is one of our guests tonight, Dr. Orin Levy. He's going to give a talk soon. And one of their first employees is Scarlett right there as well. So you can thank them for your invention for 3 generations ago to make this possible.
So here's a shot of the Dwayne Wade graphics, and these were shot I think at 800 frames per second, or just like 700. So it's very slow motion. But the technique is pretty simple. That's just the first frame of the video, and then as soon as the device recognizes the image, and then it just starts playing the video, and then obviously you put those in Unity, and they're laid out in 3D space so that it doesn't matter what angle you're looking at it from, it would have the proper perspective on the video. So you can see it from any angle, and it would always seem as if it's being projected on a flat surface on that wall. And then just one last thing, so the idea then is to somehow use blockchain to be able to make these items unique. So, like for example, with Dwayne Wade's shoe, he could potentially sell just a few of them, but each one of them is unique, and then you can put a price on them. Because, you know, let's say only 100 are made, or only, you know, so you can take one of these prints and, you know, only do 100 of them, and then you can therefore, they're unique pieces, unique art pieces, and then you can, you know, monetize it. So, yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, thanks, man. So we can definitely talk to Juan afterwards. He's not only, it's the tip of the iceberg. He was actually on Channel 10 yesterday. They got interviewed for the augmented reality murals they made throughout Miami. So what he was alluding to about putting this on blockchain, so this is supposed to be AI blockchain, so I'll talk about that now. So if you guys came to our last event with all the crypto artists, we had all the displays there. They used, like, they're basically blockchain artists, right? But, you know, they're blockchain in the aspect they were making, like, things that that look like Bitcoin, or it has some sort of a crypto aspect to it, but you weren't actually buying anything. You weren't buying their art on blockchain per se. But that's what we're trying to do now. So basically, there's the previous site, the D-Goods initiative that EOS is part of. It's a way to standardize 2D and 3D renderings and put them on blockchain, so that you know, for example, right? You know, if you go to the Mona Lisa in the Louvre, right? I can take a picture of it with my iPhone, and just because I have a perfect reproduction of it doesn't make it have any value. And that's the concept that we're trying to bring to the 2D and 3D art world on blockchain as well. Where, you know, if it doesn't exist on blockchain, then it's not authentic. You actually have provenance that that's actually something came from the artist, and the artist can get paid for it as well. And so the first use case is crypto collectibles, right? So if Dwayne Wade has augmented reality shoes, right? If that AR code, the actual like 3D scan that came from the Occipital scanner, exists only on blockchain, the data would have to go through an app that reads the data from the blockchain. So if you just have the data from your laptop, right? You know that's a fake, right? So basically, if we issue just 1,000 shoes, it's going to have some scarcity value, just like having a old baseball card, right? You follow your favorite players. And the AI aspect is, you know, the old like baseball cards, right? Once it's printed, right? You know, it's just a piece of paper. You know, with augmented reality, he's using a digital marker, but whatever rendering comes up is basically digital. We can change this after the fact. So, for example, you know, with these crypto collectibles, there's one game called Crypto Baseball, and it's kind of like a bobblehead type thing. But the bobbleheads change, the rendering, 3D renderings change based upon the real-time stats of your player. So if your player hits a home run, you can get a smile on his face, right? So, and you know, basically the real-time stats are almost like fantasy, but it changes the rendering, what comes off the blockchain. So it's a lot of things you can do with AI and blockchain that you definitely can't do without it. And that's the key aspect is, you know, if blockchain is just another database, then you don't really need it, right? What can we enable in crypto collectibles, in game design, and art, that is a new art form, or a new way to make commerce, a new way to play a game, and that's what we're focused on. So that's. You have any questions, and we'll go to our next speaker if not.
Just a quick comment. Yeah, go ahead. So, first time I was exposed to AR was a few months ago, really, like in commerce space. first time I was involved in AR, where actually experiences in commerce was at a local store, and you have, I don't know if you've heard of 19 Crimes, the wine bottle.
Sure. I've seen some of the AR bottles, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I had never seen this, right? I was totally shocked. So as a consumer, I'm now exposed to something brand new, and I started to, be inquisitive. Also, there's 19 more bottles of this, right? So what are all the stories behind that? And it's really totally attracting me as a consumer. So I think this is kind of a way to kind of get interest into a product.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a huge market. I mean, it's an obvious kind of extension of all of this.
Yeah, totally.
To bring to life labels and brands.
So to tie this back in blockchain, what would be the tie there? And when you do commerce, how can you tie AR in business area to kind of the blockchain world?
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain level of it's called provenance in the art world. Like it's like where did that art actually come from, right? Same thing for the AR, where there was actually a concept that happened, like that guy Jeff Koons, the famous balloon artist. So he had a contract with Snapchat, right, to make like art in the middle of like Central Park and stuff. And a lot of people were pretty unhappy with that concept because Snapchat actually tried to patent it, saying we own this whole concept of AR in public. It's like a public park, right? How can you keep other artists out? So there's a lot of people who were just fight the power, which is what all us crypto people are probably doing anyway. Is we graffitied the Snapchat art. Basically, we put our own art on top of the Snapchat art. So we had the Jeff Koons balloon art, but we had our own version of it overlaid on that too. So that same thing. Anyone could put AR anywhere. Someone could put like a fake Dwayne Wade AR, but if it doesn't come from blockchain, then how do you know it's from Dwayne Wade, too? And also the concept of smart contracts too. How does Dwayne Wade or an artist get paid for it too? So with the smart contract, each time someone abuses it or trades or something happens, we can't. There's an economic system in the smart contracts that you wouldn't have if it was just a picture or something. Yeah.
So
why don't you just come up here? The microphone's up here. And if it's just general questions, we can keep them for later. If it's very specific, you can ask them now.
So you mentioned the idea of taking a picture of the Mona Lisa, right? But the Mona Lisa is not like atomically the same thing as the picture. Whereas a piece of digital artwork on the blockchain is a binary, and you can duplicate that binary and have the exact same artwork. The difference is that one of them is on the blockchain and verified, but the duplicate is exactly the same artwork. So I'm wondering, has there been any market response to this that you'd like to share about whether the market sees, duplicate artwork that is binary equivalent, but one is on the chain and one isn't, in terms of valuations of the artwork?
So, that's a great point. This is so early days. I mean, everyone's going to have a million questions there's no answers to, because literally the D-Goods initiative launched like 2.5 weeks ago. So all these things are things that you can solve, you can help solve, and it's all open source initiatives, and we're heavily involved in Miami. So that's the type of thing. If you want to investigate that, you can make a name for yourself in the global community, because no one's asked that question. And it's a very important question. It's an obvious question. So yeah, I mean, my answer is going to be different than the next person you ask, because there's no right answer. We're all evolving and learning together. And it's a great thing about being involved in a new industry is no one has any more experience as you. Anyone that claims to, they're lying, because we're all on point zero together.
So you're saying that you're solving a question of provenance, but you're not solving a problem of forgery.
Yeah, that's a good way to point it. But the forgery is a big thing in blockchain, in the art world anyway, with blockchain. So they use holograms. So there's actually a physical aspect too. But yeah, I think we're probably talked enough about this per se. So we have 4 other speakers for the topics. But just last question.
I see a Raspberry Pi over here. I was just wondering how the system really works and how.
Oh yeah. So that's going to be the third speaker. So we'll talk about that. Yeah, he's going to be hands on. All right, so Warren, if you maybe just 20 seconds. Yeah, he's going to show his Channel 10 video from last night.
Just so you guys can see how the murals work.
This is really cool. Local 10's Roy Ramos has our one and only exclusive on the future of art.
Just walking through Wynwood and looking at murals and artwork is pretty appealing in itself, but what
There's no plugin, right?
learn more about the environment at the same time. That's exactly what one group has done with this mural and an app on your phone.
The mural is about an environmental issue.
On the surface, it's impressive in its own right, but for this mural that stands 15 feet high, wrapping around this building in Wynwood, there is so much more that meets the eye. Just walking down Northwest 3rd Avenue near 25th Street, you'll notice the colorful Florida wildlife. An alligator, a coyote, a manatee, and more than a dozen other animals near extinction or symbolic to our state.
150 to 200 species are going extinct every day.
Founder of nonprofit Before It's Too Late, Linda Chung, hoping this mural will be the avenue needed to raise environmental awareness. The mural itself, with its own images, shapes, and animals that you see right here, really tells its own story, but it's not until you pull up the app that it really takes you inside of the environment.
People can actually scan each of these animals and species and explore the mural, and it would actually bring to life a 3D environment with video education.
Learn more about alligators.
Their powerful broad jaws.
Find out about the invasive Burmese python.
It's not just a pretty picture. There's a deep message that we're trying to convey.
While artist Ramir Gamboa conveyed his message with a paintbrush, it is Juan Gallo whose software he hopes will reach everyone who passes by the Wynwood Wall.
It shows the power of art and to convey those messages that might be difficult, and that's why we're doing this. It's cool, right?
And Juan Carlos tells me they're still developing the app. It still has yet to be launched, but they tell me they do expect it to be up and running in the next few weeks. Here in Wynwood, Roy Ramos, Local 10 News.
And it's so cool because sometimes you don't know what animals are which.
Congrats, man.
What's the name of the app?
You can download. You can go and download right now Miami Murals AR, Miami Murals AR, and then that's for the mural on 1800 North Miami Avenue. For this particular mural, the app's still being developed.
Hey guys, so we have a very special guest tonight. This is Dr. Orin Levy. He's representing New World Angels tonight, one of the leading angel investing groups in Florida. And it's particularly relevant to us within the blockchain community because he personally owns EOS tokens and other cryptocurrencies, and he comes to a lot of blockchain conferences. And he's been a personal friend of John's dad. He was actually John's dad's medical partner, actually. John Stein, their urology
Pre-internet.
practice. Yeah. So, and then also Dr. Levy, with his angel investment career, he was one of the investors in Kairos, the very first AI blockchain startup in the world, and that's actually based in Miami. And their former CEO was Nextdoor, and hopefully he'll come here later to introduce himself. We're giving an award tonight. And then he was the board observer investor in Paracosm, one of the biggest startup successes from University of Florida. They got bought out last year, an AR startup out of Gainesville. So please welcome Dr. Orin Levy.
Thank you. So it was particularly helpful to go around the room and see everyone in the room. It's a very eclectic group. So I'm going to try and talk very generally about entrepreneurship, startups, funding, angel groups, and then feel free to just pop in with questions so we can make it into a conversation. So I started my career as a surgeon. Never really envisioned getting into all this, but I did need to stop practice at a certain point because of a medical issue, and I took a class in entrepreneurship and kind of got the bug. So I did an MBA in entrepreneurship up at FAU, one of the exec programs, and then I wanted to be able to use that. And it seemed like it's just a perfect fit to join an angel group, because an angel group is a group of very eclectic people who have sort of been there, done that in their particular area. We had physicians, we had engineers, we had finance people. So it was a very eclectic group, and you put all that together in sort of a melting pot and then draw on those people's network their subject matter expertise, and that is what is a value add besides the dry powder of money to help grow an entrepreneurial idea and enable the entrepreneur. So we kind of view it as friendly venture capital. So you have an idea, but if you just take that idea and develop it and keep it a secret, it's never going to go anywhere. So you need to build a community around the idea. That community is going to help enable and grow the idea. And initially, you're going to start small and you're going to rely on your own resources. So that might be your own Visa card, that's skin in the game, or it might be your family who believes in you, or maybe it's a medical device or drug, and there are people that are high net worth individuals that might have a passion about that because they have a family member that was affected by that disease or that indication. So those are some resources. Additionally, there's other resources that the state provides, the non-dilutive capital that basically the state wants to enable entrepreneurship and build up this ecosystem within, in this case, the state of Florida, and you might be able to get funding that would come in alongside angel capital and help grow an idea. So you have high net worth individuals, and they're hard to find, but and that's sort of through networking. So if you take a bunch of them and put them into a structured angel group with a structure for funding companies, I think some magic does occur. And New World Angels, which I started out just screening. I did this MBA, but what do I do with all that information? So I was part of a screening committee that would listen to pitches, you know, the 15-minute pitch, 15-minute Q&A, and we would evaluate them. And they applied in, some of them came in what we call over the transom, which means that they just found out about us. Others, we send out our emissaries, our members, who are all volunteers, and they go to tech meetings, and they go to blockchain meetings, and they go to, you know, tech showcases at UF and UM, and meet people, talk to them, and then see, you know, where we might be able to help them, where there's a good fit, or point them in the right direction. So that's what the function of an angel group is. It's, at least in terms of New World Angels, it's a little bit beyond back of the napkin, so we're looking for some proof of concept, some validation. There are also family offices, which generally are companies, family companies that were very successful. They may know nothing about what you're doing, but they want some exposure to an investment that has a really big upside. They understand there's a big risk, but they are trying to participate with a small amount of their capital in a big upside. There are these family offices all around the country. You can Google them or go to meetings and try and meet them as well. Venture capital is sort of upstream from angel, and that's a dedicated fund with professionals that manage it. And they will sometimes come into the startup space with some seed capital. It's really a placeholder. So what they're doing is they're taking a small, what they consider small, could be $500,000, but to them that's a small investment out of maybe a $20 million or $100 million fund to create a relationship and enable them with some of their network. But they're the ones that we try to pair angels pair startups with really from the get-go, because we're anticipating, okay, if things go well and if the product development goes as in the business plan, or even if it doesn't and it gets iterated but eventually is ready for prime time, then they're going to already have some connection through the angel group to the venture capital. That might not even be local. It might be Southeast, or it might be, if it's a medical thing, it might be ventures up in Boston. One of our medical device companies that I was involved in was funded by a Boston VC. So it's all about people and connections. So how does it happen? Well, we would get something like 25, 30 companies a month that would come in through Gust, which is an angel platform, and they would put their business plan and their slide deck and their basic information that every investor is going to want to see online, and we would have a screening call. And there'd be maybe 7 or 8 of us, and we'd go through these 20 companies and pick 6 to come pitch to our screening committee. And it's kind of like a funnel. What we're trying to do is make a good match. So New World Angels didn't have a particular vertical. We invest in life science, we invest in IT. But what we look for is Florida connected. So the company had to have either substantial operations in Florida or the CEO in Florida and business office in Florida. And then we would bring them in for this process where we're basically creating a funnel so that we can put 3 diligence teams to work per month on companies that came to pitch to us. So 6 companies would come to our screening meeting, we'd bring it down to 3 to pitch to our general meeting where you're meeting all the angels in the group, and then once that pitch is over, we chat amongst ourselves and see, is there somebody that wants to champion this deal and do all the heavy lifting that is involved in putting it through a 2-3 month due diligence process, talking to their customers, talking to their potential strategic investors, and trying to see if this is a partnership. Now, people probably talk to you about, well, how are you going to protect it? Because if you tell everyone about their idea, somebody could copy it, right? But if you don't tell anyone, no one's going to know about it. So early on, you want to try, if there's something that's patentable, to take care of that. If you're a spin out of a university, there's a tech transfer office, and they have people who are expert in helping you go through the process of protecting your IP. But then you want to get it out there because no one's going to invest in something that they don't understand or know anything about. So with New World, we didn't sign any NDAs. And the reason for that is there has to be a level of trust. You know, we are a brand in Florida. People trust us not to tell your secrets to the next guy. On the other hand, we don't want to get tangled up in a bunch of legal stuff because we might be looking at 3 AR companies or 2 VR companies or 4 medical devices. There's going to be overlap. And if we sign NDAs, then we could be tied up in court with, you know, you told them this and you shouldn't have. So I already talked a little bit about this screening process. And what are we looking for? Well, we're looking for a well thought out idea, and we don't want people that hire other people to create business plans. Because going through the process of creating the business plan, although it's cumbersome and maybe it's not going to be read if it's 30 pages, we're really going to look at the slide deck and then talk to you. But we want to know that you went through the process, that you thought about it, that you thought about who your competition is and what the other possibilities of funding were, and that you have gone through that process. One of the things about any of this early stage investment is that, you know, the radio station WFIM, what's in it for me? So for the investor, we're looking for companies that potentially could be a 10x return. If we put in $1 million, maybe we get 10 million or more. And the reason we do that is because we know that 7 out of 10 are not going to give us a significant return. So we need the 1 or 2 that are going to be singles or doubles and maybe hopefully 1 home run. So we look at every company hoping that they're going to be that home run. So they have to be large market, they have to be able to scale. We can't invest in sort of a lifestyle business that might provide a great income for you or your family, but that doesn't provide anything for the investors. So very early on, if you have an idea, you have to start to think binary. Is this going to be a lifestyle company? I'm going to grow this, it's going to grow organically. I'm not going to take other people's money because I don't want people to tell me what to do, and I don't want people to share in a substantial part of the upside. It's not greedy, you just want to have a lifestyle company, there's nothing wrong with that. But then don't take capital from people, because once you do that, it's not yours entirely. You start to lose control. Maybe it doesn't go in the direction you want, and maybe at the end there isn't enough left on the table for you for all the work and sweat and heartache that you went through. So other things we look for is the team. There's a lot of smart people, but have they done this before? Is there any experience in the team? If they don't have direct experience in growing a company, have they put together a board of advisors that's going to help them to execute on this plan? And then in terms, because it really is about the people, and it has to be a good fit. So when we look at a company, it might be the greatest thing since sliced bread. There's lots of great ideas, but if you can't work with that team, and specifically with the leadership of that team, that's not gonna produce. So it's sort of a dating thing, and that's part of why the diligence process goes on for a couple of months, because you really are getting to know each other and see if there's a good fit between the entrepreneur and the people that want to fund them. Go back one slide. So where you are in the scale of proof of concept to profitability, it really depends to a large extent on what kind of product it is. If it's a medical device, you're not going to have any profitability because we're funding you at a stage where you're just trying to get through the FDA clearance or the CE mark. On the other hand, if it's an app, we're going to start to look for revenue, and we're going to start to look for the key metrics that are important, and frankly, that the upstream capital, the $20 million investment, is going to want to see. And so we could love you, but if you can't produce the metrics and the growth, it's going to die. It's going to wither, because you have to prove those to the people that are going to put in the big money. So we talked about the business plan, and we talked about some of the milestones. Milestones are important not just because you want to make those milestones, but because if you don't, and you're trying to raise capital on bad news, then, or no growth, then you're going to have to take a cut in the valuation. And everyone's going to take the cut. The early investors are going to take the cut alongside you. And so you always want to be out in front of that curve. You want to raise more money than you think you're going to need. The actual valuation isn't as important as the assets that you're going to get from the group to help you grow it.
So, Warren, we have 2 more speakers tonight.
Yeah. So, that's sort of just a basic background on funding and how to decide whether to make a lifestyle company or raise outside capital. Any questions?
So you mentioned one of the lines there. It said proof of concept, and then MVP, and then the traction, the revenue, the profitability. And there was these little less than signs right across the board. So if you have an app and you're at the profitability side, what value add do you think your investment can provide for?
So what we also look for is a platform company. We're looking for, okay, can you execute on an idea and grow it and get viral and get users and then get revenue? And then is that applicable in a particular industry and can be a bigger picture than just that one application? So big picture, we're looking to help you meet those metrics, get more capital, execute on your vision, and then introduce you to, so the value add would also be, maybe there's someone in the group that has been in that space for 20 years, has contacts, or knows venture capital or strategic medical device companies that we can make introductions to and help to get the next round of funding or to more metrics.
Yeah, and then that's actually the value right here of having Orin here, because if you saw Orin on a stage at even a blockchain conference, just meeting him, waiting in line, a handshake, that wouldn't have done much, because you actually need to spend time with him in places like this, very specific. And he also promised that he will introduce you, if he meets you tonight, to the people in his group that are more specific to your actual industry. And I know there's going to be a lot of questions. We have 2 more speakers, but he's going to be here afterwards.
I'll hang out.
And also, a lot of the things that are generic to New World Angels are important, but what Orin's really important for us is because he actually is very knowledgeable about blockchain, and a lot of angel investors, even if they are knowledgeable, they're not willing to invest. So he actually probably be the person in South Florida that you should actually try to know from that point of view.
That reminded me to make one comment. So, we saw this plethora of blockchain companies. You can go on CoinMarketCap and there's like 1,000 companies, right? And some of them are back in the napkin with 1 or 2 team members, and then you try and research those team members because you're doing your diligence and you find out if they're real people. The steps that you go through to build a company, whether you're building it to raise money through an angel or through, you know, a coin offering, or a SAFT, or any of these new vehicles, it's the same thing. People want to see that you produced value, that you thought things through, that you put together a team that can execute on your vision. So whether it goes ICO or goes traditional funding, we're going to see a mixture of that. And then there's all kinds of legal ramifications of that too. So get good advice from people.
Thanks, guys. So, yeah. So a lot of these things, it's like, obviously we have a lot of speakers tonight. We'll have other meetups with more in-depth of each of these topics, and don't feel like this is your one time. And Chad is definitely that case where he's only going to get a few minutes, but we'll do a separate meetup with him. But he's going to give a teaser for a EOS community project, which is pretty cool that he just launched.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. I'm going to drop this down to 5 minutes. I'm going to set up a company on chain. I'm just going to go through a bunch of shit. So we'll deal with it later. Anyways, my name's Chad Folkening. I've been in the domain space for 23 years now. Buying my domains since 1996, like streaming.com, staffing, etc. So what I've been working on is actually the DAO. But really, it was called eCorp back in the day. And people in '98, where I was from Indiana, they're like, what's an eCorp? And it's electronic corporation. So we've been saying electronic corporations for 20 years now. and we're usually using it around a URL. So everything that we're doing is really around that URL. And so what I'm going to do is actually, I woke up about 7 months ago and said, I'm going to make a difference. And somebody mentioned about just the climate change. So I'm building a game. It's called an IDAG, an Intelligent Distributed Autonomous Game. And so with that, Earth Challenge is one of those. You can't really see that. But with that, we have Carbon Challenge, Nature Challenge, Fish Challenge, Fruit Challenge, just a lot of challenge-based Earth-related games. And we're really digitizing those and making those intelligence. And so my sons and I, my 10 and 8-year-old sons, did the Office Depot hackathon. And we were like, well, hey, we can't go to the beach today. So it's like, okay, let's do Red Tide Challenge. And so working with my kids, we were like, okay, the people play the game. And my kids were like, well, the game plays the person. And so we're trying to make the games intelligent enough to play each one of you individually, and with the goal of 3 things: to educate you, to entertain you, and get you to act. So we're bobbing heads down on this. This can be called Earth Challenge. It's under the iChallenge brand. Now, what the goal is to create fully autonomous running companies. And so we're doing that around the URL. Again, we're not going to get into this. We basically have 4 components: an operating system called VNOC, a contrib model called contrib, a cap table called eShares, and then a stable coin insurance fund. What I'm going to do really quick, it's going to take less than 5 minutes, but we're going to move on. So I'm Ethereum based, but again, the EOS is something we've been exploring. So that right there, we're sending up unitychallenge.com, and we're sending it up to the smart contracts. It's processing there, and we're a dual contract system. So we send up 2 contracts to the EVM. One talks to the other one based on governance and stuff like that. So people are starting to adopt these 2 contract systems. When that gets done in there, it's going to be coming in right here. Again, this is for EOS Challenge. So what we're going to be doing is publishing challenges around EOS that people can submit, that people can own part of the game, basically. If you win, you own part of the game. And so there, you can't really see it, but there's a dual contract system. One has the governance mechanisms, etc. in there. That's actually working really well. Actually, and I'm going to set up a name. So we've actually got a really good builder, too. So it's not just one thing about having a URL. It's about building utility value. The reason why we say we can help beat any currency right now, we challenge you any URL against 1 Bitcoin, because we can build utility behind that URL. And we're doing that, I won't even get into that, with integrating referral systems, cap table systems, a lot of tools. And then the business model has to pick up where, again, people can contribute, it gets logged on, it's all transparent, it gets logged on chain. Excuse me. So we currently have one of the best chain portfolios in the world, from eChain, iChain, uchain.com, Mortgage Chain, Realty Chain, Service Chain, Tech Chain. So we have 100 of these names on chain. And so again, we use the ETH form. But what I didn't go into that, what I wanted to go into is our blockchain mechanism here. So inside this mechanism, again, we can create this contract. And so this is where we're going to be adding the EOS contract systems, because I don't really give a shit which platform we use, as long as I know how to use it, it's going to work, it adds utility value for me, because development times are really hard. So I usually don't build on anything until about a year and a half until I can see it. And so for us, we're just creating this gamification layer, and that's really going to be our focus. And so for us, we're trying to make a difference. And so we're going to try and use the blockchain, distributed ownership, the cap tables on chain, basically for impact programs like Earth Challenge. And then like Unity Challenge, like stuff like that, is how do you compare against somebody else, right? In the stock market, it's how much you make. We think value can be distributed and created better, and they plug that on top of the URL, give that to people that deserve it, and be transparent about it, and then create that asset value up. So our job is to really increase the asset value of the URL, and do that by a lot of automations, new business models. So again, we don't have a lot of time, but thank you for your time.
So chat is, you know, everyone who comes to this room, you know, you actually have a lot more in common than you think. Like I told this to Scarlett before, it's like, I see a lot of people here at like so many events and a lot of social impact especially, and then eventually show up here without like having been invited. So I think we all make our way here. And Chad is definitely in that space where, you know, he's come to our maker fairs and he comes to everything with his kids. I didn't even know he was into crypto, but it's not surprising, right? You know, it's like a similar psychographic, people who are the survivors in the crypto industry. And so, I mean, the equivalent of walking him off the stage and instead of the music, I just changed the HDMI to the next presenter's laptop. So my apologies, Chad, but he'll be around. We'll have a full meetup with him in the future, but obviously we're short on time.
One of the things is geographic, right? So we're in a global economy. So I think with the Miami startup ecosystem, you know, I moved up to Boca because there wasn't a lot happening. But I think, again, people like Prav and stuff that are doing stuff, I think the South Florida area, especially what's going up in West Palm, just the whole vertical, we do have an opportunity to kind of claim our mark. And I think that takes a lot of collaboration, so.
That's great. Yeah, so that's the, you know, if you become part of our community, it doesn't matter what you're pitching, it's just that you're part of the community. So I didn't know what I was pitching, but I knew it would be something cool, and it is. So here's our next speaker, Hervé. He's actually our Microsoft speaker. He's a Microsoft MVP for Azure. He's talking about IoT with Raspberry Pis and cognitive services. This is actually a pre-event for HIMSS next week in Orlando, the global healthcare IT conference once a year in Orlando. And we post on the meetup free passes, courtesy of Microsoft. It's on the meetup, so if you actually want to go for free, it's usually pretty expensive. I posted the code on meetup. So this is a pre-event for that. So basically, he's going to talk about AI, and then we'll relate that to blockchain. But he also has computer vision cameras with the AI, and we invited our friends at Black Tech Week next door because one of their topics is how AI can be biased as well. So we're going to showcase when they come how blockchain can reduce that. So use tech to make tech better.
Thank you very much, Praveen. Hi, everyone. All right, so my name is Hervé Rogero, if I can get that moving there. There we go. Yeah, so I am an Azure MVP, and I run a company in the space of software development and cloud computing. So what I'm going to do tonight is do a kind of a quick introduction of what we've built and how it's basically put together. And then tonight, I'm going to show you how it applies to IoT specifically.
Yeah, you guys might have to come up because...
Yeah, so there's a lot going on over here, so you feel free to come and check out how this is working. But before I'm going to make everything run, I'm going to go through a quick slide deck. So the product is called Enzo Online, so we've been creating this technology for the last few years. And talking about investment and all that, so we've decided to do this ourselves, and so it's taking a long time, of course, but it's becoming a really mature product. So I am an Azure MVP. I am a breaker of APIs. I hate APIs, and yet that's what I do every single day. I am the enabler of getting things done, a holder of a US patent on data abstraction, and enabler of simplicity. And that's what I'm going to try to show today. So quick intro on Enzo. I'll do a quick demo of kind of walk you through the project overview for tonight. So it's going to make sense as I do the demo and the demo itself. So Enzo is a technology that abstracts services. So if you build an app, or if you have any kind of little project that you want to connect to other things, perhaps you want to talk to Twitter and you want to get a feed of your Twitter, from your company, or you want to tweet, right, the other way, not just reading but writing. Or perhaps you have Salesforce, or you're more into the Microsoft ecosystem and you're using SharePoint, or perhaps you have IoT devices and you want to talk to IoT devices. Whatever it is, if it can listen to something, if it can react, it's a service of some kind, then we try to kind of simplify the way that you talk to the ecosystem. So, for example, Twilio. I don't know if you know what Twilio is, but Twilio is kind of a service that helps you send text messages and also make phone calls. So, with our technology, you can literally make phone calls from a Raspberry Pi, for example, very easily. So, we offer three kind of main services and capabilities. One is around HTTP webhooks, and that is for developers. So if you're a developer and you're trying to talk to a service, normally you have to find the right SDK for the right operating system. It's really complicated. You have to download it. You have to upgrade it once in a while. So we eliminate that and basically provide an HTTP-based development regardless of the system you're trying to talk to. Even if it's a database, you want to talk, to a database, we provide an HTTP capability in front of that. So this is great for IoT development, because you don't need an SDK. Some devices are really small, like I have an MX chip with me around here. These are really like C++, small devices. Forget about putting an SDK on this thing. So with HTTP-based development, you can now talk to just about any endpoint and any service as a result. We also have created which is the Microsoft database platform, as a native platform. We've recreated parts of the engine of SQL Server so that on the network, not only you can talk to Enzo as an HTTP product, you can also talk to it as an SQL product. And you can literally communicate to it as a database. So if you're more of an analyst person, doing BI, business intelligence, or you're doing some reporting capability, you can use then the SQL interface as opposed to the HTTP interface. Right? So HTTP for developers, SQL for analysts. And then we also have built a CDC or change data capture replication technology. The vision would be to allow to move data automatically from one platform to another. Right? So you can do, let's say maybe you have you want to keep track of tweets. Well, with literally a few clicks in our platform, you can start putting all that data in a database for analysis. Right? All right, so with that said, tonight I'm going to show you really kind of the webhook and the SQL Server aspect very briefly, so that you'll see how this is put together. Ultimately, we abstract protocols, we standardize security, and we create a common semantics so that it doesn't matter which system you're talking to, use the same approach every single time, so it's super simple. A couple of past IoT projects. I actually was working with a student from UF, Ari, who built a parking IoT system with our platform. And he did that over summer using the computer vision API, which is, by the way, what we're going to be using tonight, the computer vision API. Another cool project was a voice-controlled system that we built with our technology as well. So I was speaking on one Raspberry Pi, and another one was basically cross-communicating and listening to what I was saying and basically turning lights on or off based on speech, right? So this was speech-to-text and text-to-speech capability, using a variety of services in the background. So for example, I could speak and ask the system to send a message on a text, on the phone, right? So I could literally send a command and say, hey, text my friend, right? I did this before Alexa came out. So this is before Alexa was actually a name. All right, you can actually see the code. It's open source. So you can just check it out and see how this works. All right, tonight's project, we have 3 environments. There is a Raspberry Pi running Python 3 with a camera. That's this guy. We have a laptop running also Enzo with a DMX adapter and a light bulb, which is that little sphere over here. That's going to be, we're going to be using the SQL capability over there to talk to Enzo. And we have the cloud. And the cloud there, we have Enzo Online, which is our platform as a service capability. And the Raspbian will so that Enzo Online is configured to talk to a variety of those services in the background, like the Azure services in the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to wave my hand in front of the camera, which then is going to send a message to the Azure Computer Vision directly and say, what am I looking at? Is it a hand? And if the answer is yes, then it's going to talk to Enzo and say, I had detected a hand, and then send a message through Twilio on top, and then send a message in a queue in the cloud. And now I have a message waiting at the bottom. My laptop is going to be listening for that message, and when it detects the message, it's going to then turn on the light. Okay?
I'll use the camera on this to showcase on there. So
oh yeah, cool, very nice. So, so I'm going to need my 2 hands perhaps. So I'm going to switch here.
So I think Juan will appreciate the whole maker aspect. Right? If you come with a bunch of tools, you don't realize what you'll need them for, but you'll need them for something.
Exactly. All right, so I'm starting the environment over here, which basically is going to start listening for messages in the cloud. And what you see here is basically SQL code. There's roughly, you're looking at, 20 or 30 lines of code, of actual code that does something over here. And that's going to communicate to the cloud and basically request for messages. And when it detects messages, it'll communicate with the system over here to actually turn on the light. This is all done in those few lines of code over here. And then on the Raspberry Pi, I'm going to start the system. So it started. All right, so over here what you see is the code on top, and then at the bottom it's basically looking at the camera and saying, what am I seeing, what am I seeing? So I'm going to put my hand in front of it. Oh, you want to put your hand actually? Oh, did I do something wrong?
No, you're just covering the camera.
Covering the camera. Oh, that's it.
Oh, it worked.
Right? So as you can see, and
the camera's right there, right? And I'm going to put my hand in front of the camera right now.
Right. Maybe a little bit further away, but. Yeah, hold on.
You gotta spread your fingers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's very quick, right? As soon as it detects the hand, and also I've been sending text messages.
But you guys
to
can
my
come
phone
up
at the same time, right? So every time the hand is detected, not only I've got the light coming up, but I get a message on my phone, and it's near instant.
Cool. And then so the AI aspect is the
right. So basically, as soon as I put my hand over here, the first thing this computer does, this Raspberry Pi does, is it communicates to the cloud services from Microsoft Azure. And it'll return a JSON payload and says what's in that picture. So every 2 seconds it's going to take a picture. So if a hand comes back as a description in that picture, then the code on the Raspberry Pi then engages with Enzo to do all the other things.
Maybe it's the wrong hand.
Yeah, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's the light. Here you go.
Oh, there it
Yeah.
is.
Say that again? Oh, yeah, so there's no learning behind that. This is purely the service that I'm using is provided by the Microsoft Azure platform, and it already has been, through its own training, so it's not something I control. It literally is just a simple configuration that I can show you in the Azure platform how to set that up. And within 5 minutes, you can have your own AI engine running for you. All you have, your job as a developer is to send an image, and it'll tell you 73% chances that this is a hand, 45% chance that this is perhaps a female hand, right? So then the code says, okay, am I seeing a hand? Yeah, it's probably a hand. So then do the rest.
How do you communicate with Twilio?
So what I'm doing is that I am now communicating to Enzo Online. Enzo Online is that HTTP service that I talked about earlier, where I basically hide all the complexities of API communication with other services. So all you have to do from the Raspberry Pi is write 5 lines of code to my service, and it'll send the Twilio command on your behalf. So the way this communicates with a laptop is by sending a message into a queue in the cloud, in the Azure cloud, as a message, also JSON payload in itself, right? And so here, I'm just listening and reading the queue and saying, do I have a message? Do I have a message? Do I have a message? And as soon as a message is there, then it goes and lights and turns the light on. So that kind of summarizes and concludes the,
Sure.
That is the SQL language.
That's just SQL.
Yeah, this is the relevant part of the commands that are here. And,
so what's important to make this related to the topic tonight, the AI blockchain? So computer vision is the AI aspect, and the issue right now, especially in the mining tech community, we were actually the forefront of exposing how AI can be used to create bias, in bank lending and even in like crime databases. And you've all seen the stories. Someone with a minority sounding name or face has something misidentified by AI, and basically startups in Miami expose that. So we're really on the forefront of that issue. And what blockchain does is it enables, it takes the whole concept of AI and makes it less of a black box. Where I'm going to show you a slide for that, but basically, AI is all about probabilistic outcomes, right? And while blockchain is deterministic, and the intersection is a unique space. That's what AI blockchain is all about. And if you could show how an AI makes a decision, you can see what the inherent biases are, or the biases in the data set, and you can fix it. If it's just a black box, then you just have like circumstantial evidence rather than real evidence about bias. So if you guys have any questions, here's the mic while I pull up the slides.
So really quick, whoever was really interested about the monetary aspect of the Dwayne Wade thing, people currently are working on concept bases to trickle back to the identity within the artwork concepts. The problem is in the United States, they're not seen as like securities, they're just commodities type of thing. So if you go out for Switzerland, you're gonna see like a crazy amount of projects that are going out crazy in the art world, and they're currently fixing the duplication issues that you guys were talking about earlier. And if you implement that type of industry into this industry right here, it's gonna blow up, because I remember 2010 where this industry was, and it was all like big framers and stuff like that. And now it's like in your phones, it's crazy. So look into Switzerland and the art world. They're already fixing that issue.
So we're gonna have to clean up right now, but while we're cleaning up, feel free to network and ask the speakers any of the questions you've been holding. And also, just because we're cleaning this room, we actually can stay in the lobby as long as we want. So we just have to vacate this particular room. But while we're cleaning up, you guys can mingle in the lobby. And thank you all for coming. And if you want to join our meetup, the website is eos.miami. You click on join our local meetup, and we meet about 3 times a month. And we're partners with BlockTech. BlockTech also is having a big conference in June, I think. I think like Robin.
Just really quickly, so we're hosting one of the biggest blockchain events in July of this year. And we have a lot of up-and-coming projects that will blow up in 2019 and 2020. So you're looking at projects that will be the next Coinbase and all that stuff. So we can't release anything about it because we signed a lot of agreements. But starting around March and May, we're going to start releasing the name of the speakers. So they're pretty big, and for us, we reach out to a lot of people who blew up before. So we met Mo from the North American Bitcoin Conference before he blew up. A lot of big names and stuff. But overall, it's going to be in July 2019. So keep an eye out for your emails, or if you join our Instagram or Telegram group, we have more information about it. But yeah, that's it.
Thank you, everyone, and let's network.